But by giving them a different reward in a different context, you're saying, let's transfer this good behavior, these pro-social behaviors, from our class into that space.
When you were teaching and lecturing, are there any specific examples that you give to graduates to use in the classroom as well?
Do you mean like tangible support systems?
Yeah, tangible support systems or specific like reward systems as well that you
yeah, definitely.
work.
It's interesting that you are working in a primary school setting because I have a secondary school background, which is interesting. Stickers sometimes work in a secondary school setting, but sometimes not. In a secondary school setting, it's more about the affirmation. So students thrive on praise. And they probably won't admit it, that they want the teacher to say, well done. But the ideas are there. It's embedded into everything that they do. So we practice the 4-to-1 ratio, which is something that I'm sure you already know about. But the 4-to-1 ratio means that when you are in a classroom, you say 4 positive things to every 1 corrective thing. So for example, if I walk in and I have a Year 12 English class, I'm going to have to be very intentional in the way that I say 4 affirming, positive, wonderful things about them, and I probably use 1 method of correction. So I might walk in and say, isn't it lovely to see everybody on time, and everyone has their books today, how excellent. And so we're moving in a very positive vibe, and then something, and you say, how about trying this task? Everyone seems to have written 600 words. I actually needed 650. How about we move 1 step further with that? So you've corrected at one point. How do you think the 4-to-1 ratio might work in your context?
Yeah, so a lot of the times I might not do 4-to-1.
Yeah,
A
bit much.
Yeah, much. We'll do like 2 stars and a wish.
Yeah.
We'll do
good.
Grow and glow. So it's like 2 positive, 1 improvement. And sometimes we'll even get the students to go around and tell each other something positive about each other's work, to like compliment each other and just foster good relationships as well. But yeah, often like I've got a stamp that's like a glow and grow stamp, so like I stamp it and I write 2 positive things, 1 improvement as well. Also a lot of positive things that we do in our classroom, we have a prize box. So inside the prize box, this is something I've personally done, and I understand that not every teacher would want to do this, where you put in little things like I've got Pokemon cards, scented highlighters. I get my family and friends to collect the things from the supermarkets as well to put in the boxes as well, because I know that some kids' families collect those things and other families they don't. So there's an opportunity for them to get it in the classroom, even though it might not be something that they can collect at home. And the way that system works is there's a box full of the goodies, then there's a box where I put their names. And so if I see someone doing exceptional work, or they've shown great improvement in something that they've had trouble with, I'll write their name on a sticky note, I'll write the reason why their name is in the box, and then I'll fold it up and put it in the box. I also ask all their specialist teachers to give me a name at the end of their lesson. So when they come back from LOT, I'll ask their LOT teacher, who do you think worked well today? In PE, in drama, in music, those subjects I'll ask as well, because I want to acknowledge that they have strengths outside the classroom as well. But I still want to be able to reward them, because the specialist teachers would have trouble doing that for every student in the school. So I get them to give me a name, and then I'll put the names in the box. And at the end of the week, on a Friday, I'll pick 3 names out of the box. And then those 3 students can choose a prize. I also tell the kids that your name goes in the box and it never comes out, even if you do something bad, because I want to acknowledge the fact that you did something good. And so that your name will always be there, except at the end of the term when there's too many names and we've got to clear it out. But it's also just, building trust with them as well, to say, I know you do good things, and, good people sometimes do bad things, and that's normal. You're going to make mistakes. I make mistakes. It's okay to, mess up sometimes, but we can get over that and we can keep going. And I think that's important for them to understand.
you are kind of reminding them that they are human beings. But there's two amazing things that you're doing in that space that aligns with all the science, all the prevention science. And the first is that you are advocating pro-social behaviors. So you are telling the students in the little note, this is what you've done right. So your name's there, but it's not just your name. This is the reason why you're getting a reward. So that's brilliant. So then, you are kind of calling it out in a way. So it ties in with that fabulous story about that Canadian police officer who stops kids on the street to tell them that they're doing good stuff. Because police officers are often associated with fines and all the nastiness. So now the fact that they are going to be associated with good stuff, which is exactly what you're doing. The second amazing thing that you're doing is that you are taking out the context of your classroom, and you're saying specialist teachers who operate in a totally different environment might experience different challenges, like the art teacher or the phys ed teacher or the load teacher. But by giving them a different reward in a different context, you're saying, let's transfer this good behavior, these pro-social behaviors, from our class into that space. So if they're out on the soccer field or they are exercising with the sports teacher or wherever, those pro-social skills apply there as well. So that's amazing.